An Iran ally appears to be facing a new kind of nightmare, where the most dangerous weapon is not a missile or a drone, but a system capable of attacking an enemy's battlefield networks without firing a single shot. The next Taiwan conflict may not begin with missile launches or naval battles at all. Instead, it could start with electronic warfare systems and powerful jammers attempting to blind, confuse, and disrupt critical military communications from the very first moments of a crisis. As military tensions across the Taiwan Strait continue to grow, Taiwan appears to be investing heavily in capabilities designed to fight China in what many analysts describe as an invisible battlespace dominated by signals, sensors, and electronic warfare. The developments are also being watched far beyond East Asia, with Iran placing increasing emphasis on drones, missiles, and asymmetric warfare. Questions are emerging over whether Tehran is studying how Taiwan plans to counter a far larger military power through electronic means. At the same time, military planners may be looking closely at both Beijing's successes and limitations in modern warfare, raising questions about whether future conflicts could offer lessons that extend well beyond the Taiwan Strait. And perhaps the biggest influence comes from Ukraine. The war has demonstrated how electronic warfare can disrupt advanced weapon systems, and Taiwan now appears determined to ensure that any future confrontation with China takes into account some of the vulnerabilities exposed on the battlefields of Eastern Europe. Taiwan has unveiled a new generation of electronic warfare vehicles designed to strengthen its air defense network and improve its ability to respond to potential threats from mainland China. According to reports, the Taiwanese army recently showcased the Hsuan-Chieh electronic warfare vehicle, a platform developed specifically to provide electronic warfare support to frontline combined arms brigades. Military Watch magazine reported that the new vehicle was designed not only to detect hostile signals, but also to jam enemy military communications and disrupt battlefield coordination during combat operations. Before entering service, the system reportedly underwent extensive testing in scenarios intended to replicate real combat conditions and assess its effectiveness in operational environments. Field trials included evaluations against drones, air-to-ground communication networks, and radar-related systems, with the aim of ensuring the vehicle could perform effectively in the complex electronic battlespace of a modern conflict. The war in Ukraine has highlighted the increasingly important role that electronic warfare systems play on the modern battlefield, often influencing outcomes far beyond traditional firepower alone. Military developments during the conflict have demonstrated how electronic warfare can degrade the effectiveness of advanced guided weapons by disrupting the signals and data links they rely on to reach their targets. According to reporting cited by the Washington Post, Russian electronic warfare systems significantly reduced the effectiveness of US-supplied Excalibur guided artillery shells that were originally designed for high-precision strikes. The report further noted that Russian jamming capabilities were able to interfere with the guidance mechanisms of these munitions, raising broader questions about the survivability of precision weapons in heavily contested electronic environments. Defense analyst David Pine has also argued that systems such as HIMARS were among the weapons affected by Russian electronic warfare efforts, underscoring how control of the electromagnetic spectrum has become a critical factor in modern warfare. Taiwan has increasingly focused on strengthening its electronic warfare capabilities as military tensions with China continue to rise and concerns grow over the possibility of future conflict across the Taiwan Strait. China has significantly stepped up its military activity around Taiwan in recent months, with reports indicating increased patrols, exercises, and strategic signaling near the island's air and maritime zones. Beijing continues to firmly assert that Taiwan is an inseparable part of Chinese territory, maintaining its long-standing position despite growing international concern and opposition from regional powers. In response, Taiwan has firmly rejected China's sovereignty claims and continues to remain on high alert, closely monitoring military movements and strengthening its defensive preparedness across key areas. China's mysterious aircraft has resurfaced with new modifications as tensions over Taiwan continue to intensify. China's winging ground effect craft, often dubbed the Bohai Sea Monster, has appeared once again. The unusual platform's design suggests it is intended for extremely low-altitude flight over water. New images appear to show possible weapons hardpoints mounted beneath both wings. Those new fittings have fueled speculation that the aircraft could eventually be configured to carry weapons. Iran's ally may have played a major behind-the-scenes role in the dramatic downing of a U.S. F-15 fighter jet in April 2026. A Chinese-made shoulder-launched missile was allegedly used to bring down the $90 million American fighter aircraft. An NBC News report alleged that China provided Iran with a long-range early warning radar system. That Chinese radar is reportedly capable of detecting stealth aircraft specifically designed to avoid enemy surveillance. Beyond missiles and radar systems, China may have also supplied Iran with stealth aircraft, according to NBC News. China allegedly moved the weapons to Iran during the early phase of Tehran's war with the US and Israel. Meanwhile, a US investigation is still underway into what exactly led to the downing of the F-15E Strike Eagle in April. It marked the first time in decades that an American fighter jet was reportedly brought down by enemy fire. When asked about the F-15 shootdown, China's embassy in the United States dismissed the claims as part of a smear campaign. The Chinese embassy said, and I quote, "China always acts prudently and responsibly on the export of military products, and exercises strict control in accordance with China's laws and regulations on export control and due international obligations. China opposes groundless smear and ill-intentioned association." End quote. Reports now suggest China's alleged helping hand to Iran could further complicate ties between Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. Trump's top diplomat has also insisted that America does not need China's help to bring the Iran war to an end. Earlier, Trump claimed Xi Jinping personally assured him that China would not supply weapons to Iran. Meanwhile, Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stirred fresh controversy in Singapore on May 30th. Pete Hegseth urged America's Pacific allies to step up and shoulder more responsibility against China amid rising Taiwan tensions. China responded with a sharp rebuttal, urging the United States to pursue a stable and constructive relationship with Beijing instead.
The region will be far more stable and more secure when other allies and partners follow that path. We see this same realist mindset from the Philippines. Manila is shifting its focus to external defense and enhancing interoperability with U.S. forces. And it's not just talk. We're seeing a similar and critical shift in Tokyo. Japan is taking concrete steps to accelerate its defense transformation. Together, we are enhancing our force posture and investing in the right capabilities. We're not at the finish line yet, and there's still some heavy lifting ahead, but the momentum is headed in the right direction. We have high expectations of our Japanese allies, and together we can and must each pull our weight to strengthen the U.S.-Japan alliance. Strong, quiet, clear. Australia is stepping up. Together, we are expanding the rotational presence of U.S. forces and collaborating to ensure our defense industrial base build and sustain weapons required for a high-end fight. We appreciate Australia's investment in real combat power and the commitment to integrate more deeply with the U.S. Joint Force. Mr. Koizumi, thank you for the question, for your friendship, for your engagement. I think our countries and our personal engagement is demonstrative of the kind of commitment the United States has to allies and partners. And we appreciate the extent to which you and your government have stepped up. And I think there's sort of two real ways when I look at how the world may view our commitment to this region. First is through our national defense strategy. And we very clearly listed 4 pillars. It was the homeland of the hemisphere, deterring China in the Indo-Pacific, burden sharing, and then supercharging our defense industrial base. Those were the 4. And I think too many people were focused on the fact that number 1 is homeland and hemisphere. For us, that was a reorientation toward a forgotten aspect of our defense strategy. Staying focused and bringing renewed energy to Southern Command, which had been kind of a sleepy backwater command and now is a warfighting command in our own home and hemisphere, was something we had to do institutionally. But if you look at our defense planning guidance or our national defense strategy, we are funding toward, exercising toward, and planning toward the most difficult problem set, which is power projection into this region and working with our allies and partners. So there's a refocus in what we do in our own neighborhood, but in understanding that a $1.5 trillion investment from cislunar to subsea is what's required in order to deter the next conflict. And then I think the second aspect is that People want to conflate that we have global obligations with turning of our backs to this region, and that's why I've made more trips here than anywhere else, and have met and will continue to meet with individual countries and in collective settings like this to demonstrate we are quietly but very strongly working by, with, and through allies based on our mutual commitments to strengthen our capabilities out here.
The stability of China-U.S. relations not only benefits the people of both countries, but also contributes to regional stability and world peace. The most important political consensus is the agreement to build a constructive, strategic, stable relationship between China and the U.S. President Xi Jinping clearly stated during his meeting with Trump that constructive strategic stability should be primarily cooperative and positively competitive. We also look forward to China and the U.S. working toward a common goal, implementing the consensus reached by the two heads of state, and promoting the military relationship between the two countries in a healthy, stable, and sustainable direction. This is my brief response to Pete Hegseth's speech this morning. Let us now focus on It has evolved from the early nuclear terror balance to today's comprehensive security concept that includes the international order, armed control systems, and frontier technology. However, no matter how it changes, strategic stability has always been the cornerstone of security guarantees for all countries. Yet, it is currently facing challenges as a global nuclear conflict. The risk of global nuclear conflict is rising. In recent conflicts, parties have sent nuclear deterrent signals. In the past, the Palestine-Israel conflict, an Israel cabinet minister shockingly suggested using nuclear weapons in Gaza. This shows such threat of nuclear war is not remote. Third, the international armed control disarmament and non-proliferation regimes have been severely eroded. A series of nuclear armed control guardrails have collapsed. The two countries with the largest nuclear arsenals have entered a vacuum with no treaties, no verification, and no dialogue. Under the AUKUS Pact, Australia is developing nuclear-powered submarines. Japan is pushing to revise its pacifist constitution and the three non-nuclear principles and seeking to have allies deploy nuclear weapons on its soil. The risk of nuclear proliferation is increasing. At the same time, the militarization of emerging domains such as outer space, cyberspace, and AI is accelerating. The militarization of emerging technologies is challenging.